Crikey, we've got a meeting today. Welcome everybody to the June 1st meeting of the Rotary Club of Louisville. I'm Walt Kuno, your president. First things first, let's silence our phones, me included. All right, team, got that? If you're having lunch, please put your ticket and your banner out so they know what to serve you, all right? And after that, I'm going to invite Tom Crimmins, Club Director, Chair of the Rotary Friendship Exchange Committee, 1912 Society sustaining member, and Paul Harris Fellow +4 to give our invocation. Welcome, Tom.
As I was looking for an invocation, a poem, a prayer that was appropriate for our topic today, what I perceive will be, I found a lot of things that were about animals that were sick, animals that were hurt, animals that were going extinct, and I said, that's not what I want to do. I think of the zoo as fun and kids. So I finally came across a poem by A.A. Maloney, who some of you will recognize as the creator of Winnie the Pooh and his friends, and it's told from the perspective of a child going to the zoo. So here it is, at the zoo, A.A. Maloney. There are lions and roaring tigers and enormous camels and things. There are buffalo, bisons, and a great big bear with wings. There's a sort of tiny hippopotamus and a tiny rhinoceros too. But I get buns to the elephant when I went to the zoo. There are badgers and midgets and bodgers and a superintendent's house. There are masses of goats and a polar and different kinds of mouse. And I think there's a sort of something they call a wallaboo, but I get buns to the elephant when I went to the zoo. If you try to talk to the bison, he never quite understands. You can't shake hands with a mingo. He doesn't like shaking hands. And lions and roaring tigers hate saying, how do you do? But I get buns to the elephant when I go to the zoo. Amen.
Our invocations keep getting more clever and more clever all the time. All right, to lead us in the pledge of the 408 text is Bob Nesmith, sustaining member, Paul Harris Fellow, and one of our readers with the 8th graders at the West End School. Welcome, Bob. Let's start the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please join me in saying the 408 pledge.
Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you. Please be seated, everybody. Well, Terrence, if you have a guest, the microphone is right over there. You got guests. I have lost control before I ever had it. All right. Here we go. We've got guests.
All right. Hello, President Walt, Denise Sears. I have Chris Wingate, Operations Manager at SOS with me as my guest.
I'm President Walt. I have the privilege of introducing 2 visitors today. We have visiting Rotarian Chris Burek. She is new to town from Clarksville, Tennessee, and is with Big Brothers Big Sisters, looking at maybe joining our club, transferring the membership. We also have Michaela Meek, who is with Nerd Brand Agency.
President Walt, my name is Roland Blahnik. I have a guest today, a woman who is a docent emeritus at the zoo. She served under Bill Foster's time, a little bit under Ken Dean's time. It wasn't Ken, Mr. Bean. Bean's time. My wife, Marie Blum.
President Wall, this is Mike Alwarda. Austin, stand up. I have my youngest son here today, who's a junior at Hanover College. He wants to be a veterinarian and is also volunteering at the zoo for the summer.
And I guess I'm speaking for Larry Williams now. Oh, so, yeah, I'm Larry right this second.
All right, for President Walt, I want to introduce Charlie Marsh, Galt Marsh Development Company. He's our guest, and I'm really pleased that he was able to come today.
Thank you. Just so y'all know, Charlie and I are fraternity brothers. We're part of the Lucky Shirt Club that from Vanderbilt. Go Vandy Boys, all right? So, all good. Let me see where we are now. So, guess if you're interested in joining our club, it'll be What is Rotary right in the back. And Craig Sherman will be directing that. And Craig with the pink jacket is going to come and talk to us for a quick second. At the same time, I'm going to invite, everybody's got a jacket on, take it off. It's a little warm. Mine's right there. Hang on. All right. Craig?
Guess what? You all are invited to one of the best parties of the year. The magical ingredients is you. How is that? If you show up, we will have a great time. When is it? It's coming up very soon. It's a week from this Sunday. So we need to have an RSVP by Monday so I can prepare great food for you. We're going to have, for those that went last year, they get to be nosy and see a lot of my stuff outside and inside. I'm noted for a little bit of a gardening and a little bit for art. So you get to have your full plate when you come to my house. So, what do you say? Let's make a decision. Don't procrastinate. We are the best procrastinators in this world. So, Monday, try to do your best and let us know that you're coming, and we will have the best party ever. Sprinkling. Rotary.
Craig, just tell them exactly how to RSVP, because it's a really good event. We're going to make sure don't get confused on signing up. So, somebody help you.
It's in Sparks. All you gotta do is hit the link and go. And it only costs you $30 a person. And by the way, Mark's Feed Store is going to be doing the catering, and the desserts are going to be spectacular. They're not by Mark's. And we have an open bar. You can have anything you want to drink, and a lot of other goodies. So it's from 4 to 7:30 on Sunday, 1 week from Sunday. Monday, RSVP. Thank you.
Thank you. And it really is a fun time. And I think Craig is known for his chocolate connoisseur too. Is that right, Craig? Yes, okay. All right, now what appearance in the news. Congratulations to Jean West. I saw her somewhere around. There you are. Thank you. So one of the best darn presidents we ever had is getting an honorary degree from Spalding University. So please congratulate Jean. Show up for that ceremony and let's celebrate Rotary once again. Thank you, thank you. Way to go, Jean. All right, I'd like to invite Chris Manzo, principal of SNDBX Sandbox. I think is the way he told me to do that, Design Collaborative. Co-chair of the Membership Committee and Development and Engagement Committee, to the podium for a special presentation.
Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians. Well, it's my honor and pleasure to be here today. It's the duty of our club from time to time to invite new members to join, to increase our usefulness and influence as a club in our community, and to extend the spirit of Rotary, the spirit of service throughout our community. And as of late, I think this is the third week in a row we have had new members introduced. So not even from time to time, but let's just call it regularly at this point. So quite excited about that. I'm going to invite up Todd Bale and Keith Miller to come hear what I have to say, their charge, if you will. So to you two new members, you've been elected to membership in the club because we believe you to be worthy representatives of your calling and to possess qualities that will permit you to exemplify your public business, private and social life, the true spirit of Rotary, that is service. You've been admitted not only to the Rotary Club of Louisville, best club ever, but to a worldwide organization of over 46,000 clubs. By virtue of membership in our club, you will have the fellowship extended and welcome extended in all these other clubs to travel the world. So the honor and privilege of Rotary membership carries with it expectations, including to attend the club's meetings and events, perform your share of club service, get connected with other members, and to place your knowledge and talents at the disposal of the club and its members in the task of carrying out the principles of Rotary, those of service, into the daily life of the community. So I now formally induct you each as members of the Rotary Club of Louisville and present to you your pin. Since you both folks have been in Rotary before, right? Yes. Yeah. Keith hails from San Francisco, so he's a wonderful transplant, and is nationally recognized business, brand, and marketing strategist, former founder and president of Vibe Consultancy, and angel investor. Originally from Philadelphia, grew up in Cincinnati, became a proud Bellarmine University basketball player. You are tall, I must say. And graduated from Bellarmine. A few years ago after graduation, he moved to San Francisco on the West Coast, where he also received his music business degree from San Francisco State. He has worked at startups like Google and Netflix to universally recognized global brands like Nike, Amazon, and Starbucks. He's currently focusing on helping elevate the city by working across all of our communities. He's also an avid life adventurer, traveler, athlete, love for design, music, animals, and the arts. I know he enjoys derby and bourbon. He's a retired surfer. Now calls the Highlands home to the city of Ali, who was one of his childhood heroes. Todd Bale is from Louisville, and he's a current native, and is currently serving as executive director of the Sons of the American Revolution, whose international headquarters has been in Louisville since 1971. Todd has a whopping 8 children, and currently resides with his wife in southern Indiana, who is currently a contractor with Anthem. His entire extended family resides in Jefferson and Bullitt counties. When you talk with Todd, ancestry and history is pretty important to him and his family.
Kentucky since 1796.
1796. We were only a state in 1792, so right there at the very beginning. He's been a member of various Rotary clubs around the country, so he's swinging back through to his home seat. And has mirrored his professional path since 2004, including the Rotary clubs of Washington State, Arizona, Virginia, and Tennessee, Colorado, and Illinois. That's 5, 6, 7 clubs. He's a former Interact chair, has volunteered with numerous fundraisers and special events, and former chair of the middle school 4-way test contest. He's excited to be back in Rotary and finally, after 2 decades, to be in service of his hometown community. So fellow Rotarians, please welcome Todd Bale. I've had the chance to meet and talk with each of them, coffees and the like, and really enjoyable. It's just the diversity also. You each bring really different perspectives. I love it. Our club is growing. It's exciting to be a part of our club. Thanks. Thanks, guys. Thanks.
I don't know how you're a retired surfer at his age. Come on, Keith. It's a fiction. There you go. And any of y'all that have been, I've said this before, but one of the great quiet resources in our community is the Sons of the American Revolution on Main Street. It is a gorgeous place to do ancestry work. The folks there will help you, and there used to be free parking in the back.
You know, there's a charge there, I think, but you can find
some. All right.
Some on the street.
Yeah, but it's a great place to go. Welcome to our club. Thank you. Bill will move to, oh, I'm on the wrong. Now, we're gonna have Max Monahan from Repair Fair to share a brief presentation. Welcome, Max.
Hi everyone, how are we doing today?
Great.
Tracy, I can use this clicker too, right?
Yes.
Shout out to Tracy, get everything set up, appreciate it. So, my name is Max Monahan. I'm the Director of Home Repair at New Directions Housing Corporation. And which basically means I oversee 5 programs that help existing low-income, elderly and/or disabled homeowners with free home repair. And our flagship program within this department is called Repair Fair. So basically the idea on Repair Fair is it is volunteers and also local contractors assisting our neighbors, the low-income homeowners who need that free home repair so they can stay in their home. These are homeowners who already maintain a high quality of life, but are living on usually about $1,200 to $1,300 a month in Social Security, and that's it. So for them to have a $300 electric or plumbing bill, for them just completely blows their monthly budget. So in 1993, New Directions Housing Corporation came up with this program called Repair Fair. And Repair Fair is as simple as that. It's neighbors helping neighbors. It's organizing volunteer groups as small as 2, as large as 50, to help elderly disabled homeowners with these free home repairs. Everything from simple yard work, where we have a lot of homeowners who are getting cited by the city for overgrown fence rows. They may have gutters that have completely backed up with debris. Well, an 85-year-old homeowner is probably not going to climb up that ladder and clean their gutters. Well, we can organize a Boy Scout troop to do that for her just for free. It's as simple as that. And like I said, this is our 30th year. And in 30 years, we've done 4,334 homes in Louisville and Southern Indiana. We also serve Clark and Floyd counties on the sunny side of the river. So, and in that time, we've had 45,000 volunteers, and the value of that volunteerism is $6.7 million. So it's a really great, prolific program in the community. It's been around for 30 years, and we've been doing a lot of different projects with the Rotary Club. So shout out to Larry Sloan in the back. Larry has been leading multiple teams over the last 2 years. 5 total, two different projects a year where the Rotarians come out and actually get to participate with Repair Fair. We actually have our big event day coming up next weekend on June 10th. So if you're interested in signing up for this volunteer event, it's a half-day project on Saturday. You come out, you get a t-shirt, you get a boxed lunch, and you get to help a homeowner with some simple home repairs that can really change their life. And the idea is these existing homeowners who live in these neighborhoods that are going through revitalization or on the brink of going through revitalization, they're the ones who become victims of speculation and displacement. We all get those robocalls saying, we'll buy your house for cash and things like that. And unfortunately, a lot of these homeowners, they see that as their only option is to sell the asset that is in their family, and then they sell out for $60,000, $70,000, $80,000, but then 5 years later, these homes are worth $200,000, $250,000. And we see this all the time in our community, particularly in that immediate East End area, Butchertown, Phoenix, Smoketown, Shelby Park area. So we want to be proactive and make sure that these homeowners can stay in their homes, and that they also have their end-of-life documentation in order, so that way the home can seamlessly transition to the next generation, and there's that real potential wealth building, particularly in Black communities. So those are some of the all-time numbers. Here's just an example of our impact just over the last 3 years in West Louisville. Coming out of the pandemic, we were able to raise a lot of different funds from private foundations, Rotary Club, organizations like that, for us to use local contractors and pair them with volunteers to get larger impact projects completed. And as you can see, we spent basically $2 million in West Louisville helping these homeowners with roofs, windows, furnaces, bathroom rehabs, those types of large-scale projects that can keep homeowners in their home, add value to the home, and also get them connected to legal aid societies so they can get their wills in place so these homes can seamlessly transition to their grandkids and things like that to build that wealth. So the volunteer projects. Volunteering is the easiest thing in the world. I was talking to Joyce Seymour in the back. Joyce used to run the Women for Women team back in the day when I started volunteering with Repair Fair when I was 15 years old, back in 2005. And I've been doing it, this will be my 19th summer doing Repair Fair, because I really see the impact and you see how it can really change the life of these homeowners. So the Rotary Club will be having a project next Saturday the 10th. They will also be having another project in September or October that we're going to schedule as well. It's very simple and easy. We have some low-skill projects, which is, like I said, that yard work, Actually, the project that Rotary will be working on is staging a wheelchair ramp for a homeowner. This homeowner has already received help with contract labor, so we've already gut rehabbed her bathroom and done a walk-in shower with a fold-down seat, handheld shower head, grab bars galore, new flooring, high-rise toilet, all these different types of things for this homeowner. Now the volunteer team will come in and complete some of those lower skill projects to completely finish out this project. So it's a great program. Like I said, we've been partnering with Rotary. You guys have done a lot of projects. It's a very fun, easy way to get involved with community through Rotary, partnering with New Directions Repair Fair. And always, you can check us out on our website, ndhc.org/volunteer. We're always looking for volunteers and for funding for these projects. Even outside of Rotary, if your business wants to do a corporate retreat by doing a volunteer project, we do those all the time. If your church that you go to wants to put together a team to do a project, we also do those all the time. And we do these projects year-round. We do about 200 a year.
Wow.
So yeah, it makes a huge impact for our elderly neighbors to keep them in their homes, keep them safe, keep the homes accessible, helps the surrounding neighborhood with the visual appearance of these homes. So it's a really great program. I really love it, but I've also been doing it for 19 years now, so I'm a little biased. That's it for me. Thank you guys so much. If you're interested in signing up, David Steiner, Rotarian. We'll be around after the meeting doing sign-ups. I'll also be around too to answer questions, tell fun stories about different projects we've done. Thanks so much.
Fantastic.
Max has that same enthusiasm when he does it on Saturday mornings. So it's fun. I'm glad David's done this. Lori's not here, but we'll be doing that. Oh, Lori is here. There's Lori. So this is Lori. Lori's got a big part of this too. So, and I'm sure we'll be hearing more and more about this over the years. We need to continue to do that. It does make a difference. And when he was talking about building generational wealth, we're trying to do that with our West Louisville Housing Initiative by having folks own their homes for the first time. And this is keeping homes in the family to build generational wealth. So that's another, we just don't know the impacts that we have all over Louisville. We're doing good stuff. So now for the main event. I know y'all have heard me recite Casey at the Bat, and I monetized that. And today I'm going to sing. So who's going to pay for me to sing, and who's going to pay for me not to sing? I'm going to sing anyway. All right. We're going to the zoo. Welcome to. You can have you. We're going to the zoo. And with that, Sarah is going to come introduce our guest speaker today. So, somebody pay me to do that. All right. Walk in, walk.
I'm not going to sing today, but next time. I'm so pleased to introduce Dan Maloney as our guest speaker today. Dan serves as the Executive Director of the Louisville Zoo. He has made his passion for wildlife a profession, serving at some of the world's top zoos. He comes to Louisville from Florida's Jacksonville Zoo and Gardens, where he was the Deputy Director. Dan has also served as the General Manager for the Life Sciences at Australia's Melbourne Zoo, a Curator for Wildlife Conservation Society, and General Curator for the New Orleans Audubon Zoo, where he led the crew who remained behind during Hurricane Katrina. As a proud Rotarian, he served as the President of the West Jacksonville Club. Dan is thrilled and honored to be a Louisville Zoo's 5th Director. He and his wife Laura reside in the Cherokee Triangle neighborhood with their 2 rescue Great Danes, Moses and Ellie. Please join me in welcoming Dan.
Good afternoon, everyone, and what a pleasure to be able to speak with you today. Austin, we're gonna work you hard at the zoo. I promise you, appreciate you volunteering. And Marie, I will say hi to Bill Foster for you. He retired. Dr. Foster retired in Lexington. Bill really is he's still a maniac, but boy, he put us on the map, and he had such audacity to do the things he did when the zoo was so young. So he and my immediate predecessor, John Walzak, are just terrific guys, and they're always willing to help at the zoo. Todd, welcome to Rotary. 8 children, congratulations. In the zoological world, you may be referred to as a proven breeder. I just want you to know that. we may be able to exchange you with other, get you to tour around other zoos that are part of the breeding program. Absolutely. Good job. I first came to the zoo in the late 90s, was impressed with it then, have been paying attention ever since, so I just always feel privileged every day, and I never take it for granted. So, I'm going to fill you in on a couple of things right now. I think I got this. There we go. So, the zoo right now, we are considered the top not-for-profit paid attraction in the state by many hundreds of thousands. We are about we attract about 240 to 245,000 more guests than Mammoth Cave. And so we are proud of that. Part of our mission is to generate wonder. We look at, we've changed our messaging since I've been there. It's all about saving wildlife, saving animals together. We have legacy programs started by Dr. Foster. This animal is, anyone? I guess it's a black-footed ferret, so I guess not. When I saw this assembled group of ferrets that we have here, I got choked up. This is an animal that was thought to be potentially extinct when I was in high school. And there are 5 zoos, and in the Ferret Center in Colorado, it's the only ferret that's native to North America. And without zoos, this species would be extinct, like so many of the other animals that have gone the way of passenger pigeons and ivory-billed woodpeckers and heathen and other animals in North America. We are up to about, as of Tuesday, we're at about 785,000 visitations for the year, and our year concludes on June 30th. Our budgeted target number is 862,000. We have introduced a number of additional new special encounters. The sloth encounter sells out very quickly, but we'll be looking for the next part of the year soon. It defies logic why sloths are so interesting and exciting for people, because we think all animals are exciting and interesting. But Disney goes a long way when they create something like Zootopia. And we've got a relationship now with the Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife Resources that we hadn't had before. We had a bad relationship, we just didn't have one. And so our conservation funding is derived from 25 cents from every paid admission, $1 from every membership, and the opportunity for people to round up their purchases at point of sale. From that modest pool, we have, when I started, we had about $800,000. And so I called up and was able to get in touch with the guys in charge of non-game species for the Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife Resources. I wanted 25% or so to go to regional conservation, because we think that's pretty important. And I said I had like $200,000 I'd like to spend on regional conservation. And I know it's going to seem shocking, but he was very responsive to that phone call. We made a covenant with our guests that we're going to spend this money on conservation. We want to make sure we do that. Just let you know, Safari's coming up on the 10th of June. If you haven't gotten your ticket yet, please feel free to do so. It's always a fun event, and this year we've spruced it up to a large part in what we're going to be doing. And Don G will be our MC again. Brew at the Zoo, the 26th of August this year, and through at the Zoo, 11th of November. Last year was a little snowy, but we still had lots of participants there. We also do capital projects, and so Kentucky Trails, I just left a workshop. It's our second round of design workshops. That we've got our first state appropriation ever of the General Assembly in Frankfurt saw fit to allot us $10 million towards this $30 to $35 million project, and that helped compel the mayor's office, Mayor Fisher's office, to give us a $5 million match. So for every $1 million we earn, $1 million will come from the city, towards Kentucky Trails. This has been on our master plan since 2016. but with no real detail to it. So it's that right-hand corner there, it's about 20 acres or so. But we'll be celebrating regional wildlife because we think if people learn more about the animals that are right in their own region, they'll realize that these animals are going through the same things every other animal goes through anywhere on the planet. They're trying to get energy, they're trying to save energy, and they're trying to avoid being someone else's energy. So, we want to be able to bring people in with bison and elk. This is a good buddy of mine runs this place up near Tacoma. It's Northwest Trek, another accredited Association of Zoos and Aquariums accredited facility. And these are just some of the concept designs to get people out on the water and paddle boats, and opportunity for people to learn more about the conservation efforts at the Kentuckiana Conservation Center, and then also upland safari experience. But I'm here to talk to you about some stories you may have never heard, unless you heard this presentation in the past. I've given it in various forms, mainly to help inform people as to what to do to prepare and respond to hurricanes. I was blushing. I was the general curator, vice president, general curator at the time at the Audubon Zoo. Today is the start of hurricane season, so if you see my eye starting to twitch, it does that every year, even if I'm not living where hurricanes are prevalent. I lived at the zoo for 2 months with a very dedicated small group of people as we took care of the animals there. And my wife, Laura, and some of you have met, Larry knows my wife, Laura, and she was in charge of the Louisiana SPCA at the time. And so between the two of us, there was a lot of things that we had to do to prepare, because we always knew that the fire and rescue and police were not going to be there for us because they would have too many needs for people that were at risk and suffering. So this just gives you some idea, and I think most of you know, and I won't go through it all, it just gives you some idea as this thing approached. I was trained to move the servers into the reptile house where we hunkered down. This may sound incongruous, but the reptile house was designed in part to be more hurricane resistant. It's a round building. Reptile houses, by their very nature, are buildings within buildings. And so and this was on a little bit higher ground. So it was about 7 feet above sea level. I know it doesn't sound a lot, but what you saw on the TV when you saw people with water up to their ceiling, those were people whose homes were already 5 feet below sea level. So a 4.5 foot storm surge brought it up to their ceiling. These are the boards that people put up. This is at the zoo and the swamp exhibit. The crew there have a good sense of humor, and they just track all the different storms on their hurricane boards, which is kind of a tradition in New Orleans. Anybody here from, I know Gene is from just outside of New Orleans. Anybody else lived in New Orleans? Were you there during Katrina?
I wasn't, but Exposition Avenue in Chapatoula, that's
Sure.
where my grandparents and my mom grew up, and so that was right there.
Yeah, that didn't flood though.
No.
Right. The closer you were to the river.
Those animals that.
The closer you were to the river, the higher ground would be, because delta rivers spill their banks, and before we tried to hem in the Mississippi, it would deposit another few centimeters of silt and soil and build it up. So those slivers on the rivers, as they became as they got to be referred to, my wife and I, when we moved back to New Orleans, were very specific about where we were going to live. I would have loved to live up by the fairgrounds because I loved the Jazz and Heritage Festival more than anything, and that's the bottom of the bowl, so we didn't live there. These are just some of the things we did to prepare. Laura and her crew went ahead and they evacuated like they had done other times. We had hunkered down other times. It wasn't the first time we hunkered down for a storm, but typically they're near misses. In this case, the night before I disconnected that server, I was looking, and keep in mind, this was 2005, so nobody had smartphones, at least we didn't. There were some people that had Blackberries, but you weren't able to track anything on your phone. So I was looking at the storm. It was like the 10:30 hurricane update from the National Hurricane Center, and I was like, wow. I looked out the window, I said, a lot of this could be very different tomorrow because this storm was so big. And while it was unlikely to veer off and not hit us, it actually did go 8 miles or so towards the east. That's why Mississippi was leveled along the shore. They got much worse of the impact. We thought we had escaped, we had escaped, and unfortunately we did not. That just gives you some idea of why the reptile house is an important part for us. Different things that they had done. The zoo and the ASPCA were some of the best, I mean, the Louisiana SPCA were some of the best prepared agencies anywhere. The second day, we thought we had escaped real damage like we had done so many other times. And as well as we prepared, we never anticipated, at least I didn't, because each hurricane season we would get together and we would look at what equipment we needed and what supplies. I never thought the police would be there to help us, but I never thought they'd be adversarial. It just never occurred to me. And 26 police cars came in and took 600 gallons of gasoline from us. They also took the zoo shuttle. So Gene will tell you there's a shuttle that runs from in front of Loyola and Tulane on St. Charles. It comes around Magazine to drop people off when they take the streetcar down to the stop at Audubon Park. And they took that shuttle to evacuate people from other parts of the city to either the convention center or to the Superdome. We never got it back. It was discovered, they didn't return it to us. It was discovered about 3 months later under one of the I-10 overpasses and completely trashed. So after they left, I directed the staff to move all our heavy equipment and other valuable items away from the perimeter fence where they couldn't be seen, and then chain up that fence, our gate, the best they could. And the horticulture director was part of the team because he can operate backhoes and chainsaws. He hid the backhoe under a bunch of down bamboo, and I almost ran into it. It was perfect. So the staff really wanted to get out sooner than later, but we didn't really go until 1 o'clock in the afternoon because there were bands of wind still coming. We didn't know if there would be a hospital open or there would be any other services. We had no real idea because we lost power, and though the power kicked on in the reptile house, we just didn't have any real communications. The Audubon Nature Institute, by the way, in New Orleans, not only runs the zoo, but runs the Audubon Park and the golf course across the street, the aquarium downtown, at the foot of Canal Street, the Survival Center over across the river, and then also the Nature Center. That was in New Orleans East. The Nature Center was lost. We moved animals before the storm was coming because that area was low. And the aquarium went down like the next day or so, or 2 days later. Their generators were failing. And we did everything we could to help them, but we didn't have comparable items and equipment to help them. So while we only lost 4 of 1,500 animals, well, I'm very proud of that record. 2 of those animals were actually young otters that had been brought to us, wild otters, and they succumbed because they were left in an area. By the time we remembered, it was getting warm pretty fast because this is the 29th of August in New Orleans. And so they had heat exhaustion and they eventually succumbed. But other than that, we were able to, there was a old raccoon at the Louisiana Swamp exhibit. We left, that exhibit is low and their holding is low, so we wanted to make sure they didn't drown. So we left them out, and she, I think, was denied getting up the tree, and she drowned as the water came up, because while the zoo didn't flood, there was a lot of rain, and then there was a bird from one of the aviaries, a small bird that disappeared. So this gives you some idea. That blinking red star is where the zoo is located. All those other areas that have color, either green or red or orange or yellow, those are all areas that flooded. So you can see those areas along the river that did not flood. I will say the police were pretty wide-eyed and panicked. They were talking about when they came in about just leaving their post and driving away with their squad cars. So it really freaked our staff out a little bit. This would give you some idea. That's Napoleon Avenue that runs perpendicular to St. Charles, and that was only a few blocks going towards the lake. You know, in New Orleans, there's no north, south, east, or west. It's either you're going upriver, downriver, towards the lake, or you're going towards the river. This was a Rite Aid, and somebody drove a little forklift right through the door. And I still to this day don't know who this guy was waiting for, because obviously the streetcar wasn't working. We were surprised at how many people did leave animals behind, and you know, so my wife was calling and trying to get us to go and help if we could, but when we go out, we would take a pickup truck, 3 people, 1 to drive, and then 2 with shotguns. And when we left to go to a house, it would be the one person who was kind of with the canoe or the small rowboat, and then one person with a gun. This gives you some idea about what Laura and her crew were doing. They evacuated their animals to the Houston SPCA, and then they came back in to start rescuing, and they were in some pretty compromised areas. They were not only first responders, but they were also victims of this situation. So Laura ended up buying a home up in the Baton Rouge area for her staff. They went to Gonzales to a equine center and used that for a staging area for animals. And so all kinds of weird animals were coming in. And she invited other animal welfare groups to come in because they couldn't handle it on their own. That was a double-edged sword though, because a lot of people just left their jobs and all wanted to become, animal rescuers, and they found their religion. And a lot of people were not qualified, and a lot of them were really motivated by less than altruistic reasons. It was a real mess, but she didn't have much of a choice. The one thing she did say though is for the people coming to retrieve their animals, the exotic dancers came almost first. They came to get their snakes and their birds, which I think is a credit to that profession. We had to build our own shower at one point, and because while we stored water for drinking, when the city turned the water off, I think it was really to drive people out, because a lot of people didn't want to leave. I only lived a mile and a half, we lived a mile and a half from the zoo down Magazine Street, a couple doors towards the river. And I was there Sunday night trying to tell people, because I came home, put my hurricane boards up pretty fast, and Laura had already left with our dogs and to go into Houston. And I was trying to beg our street. I said, you guys have to go. You're on a respirator. You love your air conditioning. You have medication you have to keep cold. I was trying to tell all these different people, and they're like, oh, darling, we were here for Camille. I'm like, you got to get out of here. I would have gone if I could have, but they ended up getting forced out. National Guard were amazing. So they didn't come until 8th or 9th day, whatever it says there. And I can't say enough good things about it. Border Patrol, not a big sense of humor. Those guys were pretty intense. They came in the first couple of days. But the National Guard were amazing. They didn't really come to help us. They came to live on our grounds because we were some of the last dry, accessible, large space on the East Bank. That guy was one of our staff members who had hurt his hand. The one thing we didn't realize is how compromised the staff was. We thought we were all working at top efficiency and at the optimal rate, but we were all really compromised and exhausted, and he caught his hand in something. That's Panya, and that's with some of the guard members. The guy on the right there that's got the hat on and the light-colored shirt, that's Tran Asperides, and he was in charge of facilities and horticulture. When those helicopters were coming in from the National Guard, they were kind of freaking me out. He served in Southeast Asia, in Vietnam, as a medic, and he whispered to me at one point and said, when this is over, I'm out of here, I'm retiring. And he did. So I'm still in touch with him to this day, and he usually calls me on hurricane, and on the start of hurricane season, so I expect to get a text or something. Panya died a few years ago, but Jean, her partner, elephant, is still there at the zoo. So the tea room was fairly new. It's an area at that time. It's a catered event space. Many zoos and aquariums rely on events, and New Orleans is certainly one of those places. But I realized pretty quickly that we were the only game in town for the Audubon Nature Institute. Now, it's named after John James Audubon, but it's not affiliated with the Audubon Society. John James Audubon did a lot of his painting in the Louisiana area, so they named Audubon Park after him. Keeping people out of there was rough. And so, because everybody wanted to use it as a staging area, we had the Red Cross, Border Patrol, ServPro, they were all coming in, they all saw this space and wanted to use it. But this was revenue generating space, and it was fairly new, we didn't want to compromise. So, somewhere in like 3 months later, I was still, the zoo, Audubon Nature Institute set up a satellite office up in Baton Rouge. So I was often still the ranking person at the zoo. And I get all these people coming through, like state senators who wanted to get their picture taken, and all kinds of weird stuff that would come on. So, this Captain Brown showed up from Homeland Security, and he said to me, we need this space for a meal center for returning refugees. I said, Captain, the people in uptown New Orleans are some of the most affluent people you're going to find. They don't need that. I said, they're just going to go to the Winn-Dixie and Jefferson Parish right across the line here. He said, that's not your or my decision, son. He said, and I want you to know I have the authority to arrest you if you don't comply. Now, I said to him, geez, I said, Captain, I don't want to go to jail. I said, but I will for this. And I told him how we had kept it out of different hands. And then I said to him, and my wife and I have only seen each other maybe 5 or 6 times in the last 2.5, 3 months. And I explained what Laura was doing. And he said, is your wife a tall blonde? And I said, yeah, she is. And he said, I see your wife down at the Emergency Operations Center. He goes, I like seeing your wife down there. And I said, I'm sure you do. I said, I would like to see her more often. And then he put his arm around me and said, let's look at those other spaces you were talking about. So it was good to be married to Laura. There's Laura up, these are guards from Oklahoma. They adopted that dog. Our vets took care of that dog, gave her shots and things. We don't know whose dog it was, but the guy that was in charge took that dog with him. There were an engineer corps group from National Guard down there. They took one of the cross sections of one of the oak trees that they cut, and then they inscribed their number, squad number, and things. And we took a photo there. And my wife Laura is on the left-hand side of the picture. She came every once in a while. She could stop by, and just we would see each other for a few minutes, and I'd get her some food or something. So that's I think Fleas is still there. She liked putting the jackets on her garden crate. This story happened though before the National Guard went, and somebody said across the street, hey, there are people playing golf and riding golf carts. I'm like, what is going on? And so I said, well, nobody go anywhere. I'm going to take one of our security guards with us. And I rode across the street in another golf cart, and I see these like giant guys. But then I saw the fire trucks, and they were from Chicago and New York. I'm from New Jersey. I started at the Bronx Zoo. And I know how you speak to New Yorkers. You don't go in pretty humbly. So I went in and I was using vulgarities I will not repeat here. But these guys had broken into the clubhouse and took all this stuff out on the porch. And I started saying, who the blank, like you guys in here? And they said, who the blank are you? And I said, I'm the blank and general curator. And besides that, I said, I started at the Bronx Zoo, so I know what all you a-holes are about. And then everything changed, because they're New Yorkers. They said, the Bronx Zoo, I'm from the Tremont Station, I'm from the Castle Hill Station. They all came around me, and we were all having a great time. And so I said, dude, and I have one friend from high school who became a firefighter in New York. I got warm water here trying to save my voice. That's never recovered from Derby or allergy season. So his name is Jack Garcia. And I said, any of you guys know Garcia? And they go, he's in ladder 89. He's a maniac. I said, he is. And so we were all having a good old time there. And somebody came up to me, and it's Captain Mike McPartland, not McPartland, McPartland. And he says, in the way a New Yorker would, Danny, we're going to be very respectful. And I said, Mike, you gotta be. We never met each other. And I said, this is a brand new facility. Nobody goes into the pro shop. These guys, I'm glad you're here to help our city. They can go out there and do whatever they want to try to play golf, but they've got to just keep it to 2 people to a cart. And so he said, yeah, we'll do that. And he said, I said, good, we'll be good hosts, but now I need something from you. He goes, you name it. And I said, I need 1,500 gallons of diesel within the next 3 days. Our animals are going to start to die because our generators only had so much. And he said, you got it. And I said, you can get us 1,500 gallons of diesel in the next 3 days. He said, absolutely. And so I learned pretty quickly that you need to ask, where are they getting it? Because you may never see them again. Like they may just be deployed somewhere else. So I said, Mike, can I ask you where you're getting that? And he said, better you don't. And I said, I thought, well, maybe he siphoned it from the New York, the Chicago trucks. I didn't know what he said, but it didn't matter to me. But to his word, 3 days later, it showed up. I had a digital camera on my belt, so that's where all these photos are from. I was taking it the whole time. And that man who's driving that truck was Sergeant Pyle. No, I'm not kidding. It wasn't Private Pyle, but he was Sergeant Pyle. And he said, hey, I got 1,500 gallons of diesel, where do you want it? So it was great. We found ourselves, though, without water. While we had enough water for everybody to drink, including the animals, we did not have enough water to replenish the pools. We had plenty of power for the life support, but if water can't get to the skimmers, it's useless. So the second day or so, I found one of the staff had found an analog phone still working. And it was about 10 in the morning, they got on the radio, and they told us, they came across, I said, okay, you have till noon to start figuring out what you're gonna need after day 12 or so, because we had enough supplies and materials to last till about 2 weeks. That's all you always plan for. But we realized this was probably gonna go on longer. So I was able to call the Houston Zoo from this analog phone. We didn't have computers or fax machine or anything going. My friend Rick Barungi, who's now retired, got so excited, he started asking all these questions. I said, listen, I don't know how long this line's gonna last. I need you or someone else to take down this list, because we got a big list. And then I need you to call the Baton Rouge Zoo and get them on board. And he was amazing. At one point he said, well, what do you want? I said, that's it. He said, no, but what do you want? And I said, well, if you come across a bottle of gin and some tonic, we have plenty of ice here. And he also called the Alexandria Zoo, and Les Witt was the director, who's now passed away, and those guys came in like the cavalry, and they were tremendous. I was just at Booty Gardens, I was out in Galveston, and these guys, this is our staff, had to ride because the air conditioning wasn't working in the truck, and they rode all that way to Galveston with the back of the truck open to take the sea lions and some otters and some other aquatic animals. We had people come in as our relief. They came in with RVs. I asked them, because we only had so much space, I said, could you guys pick up RVs, pick up your equipment, and pick up people along the way, because people had dispersed everywhere. And I was going, and I'll leave you with a couple more stories, and then I'm done. It's that's Gene, actually. That's Gene the elephant, who's still there at the zoo. I would go up to Baton Rouge Zoo, at Baton Rouge Airport, to pick up people coming back in. And so somewhere around, I don't know, third week, I was zipping down River Road and going along in a zoo truck and wearing a t-shirt, no air conditioning in this truck, and I'm just zipping along. It's early September, really hot, and this unmarked cop car has lights behind me. And at this point, there's nobody left in the city except National Guard and police and maybe people that were still resisting to leave. And I'm waving this guy around, waving him around, and he wanted me, so I pulled into the Tulane bookstore there along River Road. And I get out of the car, and he's got his door open, he's got his revolver, service revolver, drawn on me, and he's yelling, he's cursing at me to get on my knees. I'm like, I work at the zoo, right? Like, I got the logo and the thing. Get down. Anyway, he wants to see my ID. And I said, well, I'm on my knees. And I said, I've got to go for my wallet. What do you think? And I wasn't actually scared. They were just kind of confused and annoyed because we had been through a lot in 3 weeks. And so I have my driver's license, and he tells me to come up and don't try anything. I'm like, don't try anything. So I give him he goes, get back on your knees, and he's got the gun, and he's looking at my ID and looking at me and looking at my ID, and he goes, his whole demeanor, he said, are you related to Laura Maloney? And I said, I am. He said, oh man, because he would see, and she was cutting all these deals with the National Guard and others to be able to get in and rescue animals. He said, I'm sorry, man. We're just trying to stay alive out here. I said, no, we all are. I don't know his name. I never took his badge number. But I said, now you can help me. Because he kept on apologizing. I said, I'm going to the Jefferson Parish line just down the road. And there are 22-year-olds with M16s who may not let me back in when I go pick up our staff members. So if you could help and vouch for me, and he did, and we got back in. So we started telling our story after we were secure, and that's just some of the stories we had told. We both looked at I just lost his name. He's on NBC still, and he has an evening program. Lester Holt, thank you. Both Lester Holt and I looked a lot younger. We reopened the zoo on Thanksgiving weekend, though we could have reopened sooner because we were capable, but there was nobody to come. And Ron Foreman, who's the president and CEO of Audubon Nature Institute, knew that would be a time when all the families would be back together, because one parent or the other was coming because people were in Memphis or Houston or Jackson, or they were in Baton Rouge and other places. We had 66,000 people that weekend, counting Friday as well. The aquarium did reopen, but they lost a good portion of their animals. So the sea turtles and penguins and some of the air-breathing fish and a lot of the smaller exhibits were fine, but they lost all kinds of animals. We learned a lot of different things, but one of the things at the bottom there is we should have addressed the stress and trauma, because we really didn't get any counseling for anybody, and no one is there anymore that was on that team. Everybody else has left. Laura and I ended up going to Australia. We stayed 2 years after the storm, and I think we should have taken a break, and our institutions would have allowed us to, but we were kind of just looking for a change. So we went to Australia. That's from the Times Picayune, and they did a nice story. And we had a great time working for Zoos Victoria. Katrina 10, the 18th anniversary is coming up this August 29th, which is hard to imagine, but they had a 10th anniversary, and it was hosted by Harry Connick Jr. and Branford Marcellus down at the Dome. And then Laura found the new location for the SPCA, raised money for it, did phase 1, but for phase 2, they honored her by this fountain in honor of her leadership. So thank you for that. I shared some of those stories, things you may have not heard before. There are lots of other stories, but they're much better over adult beverages. So thank you very much. I don't know what kind of time, but sure.
I mean, we're bumping up against, but anybody who needs to leave, just quietly leave. We entertain a couple of questions. So there you go, Tracy.
You mentioned, Dan, heat exhaustion for some of the animals you lost in New Orleans. As temperatures continue to rise in Louisville, are y'all planning and taking steps? I mean, some of your animals are probably tolerant of the heat, but others are not.
Yeah, Tracy, that was because they were in a building, though. They were in a closed building in Sky Kennels, these young otters. But we do choose carefully. Like, for example, we just brought a red panda to Louisville Zoo, but I wouldn't have had red pandas at the Jacksonville Zoo Garden. It wouldn't have been a good place for them. And the snowy owls that were there, I didn't want them to go. The snowy owls are popular, but they were, the new thinking is to have them outdoors, because our pair here would lay eggs every year but not hatch them. So unfortunately, our summers are too hot for snowy owls. They may have not been as hot when they opened the exhibit 12 years ago, but they are now. Yes, sir.
Red Panda, can you talk more about that? And also, is there a Rotary list to get in to see the sloth?
Should there be?
I can't get in there. I'm trying.
Well, we'll see what we can do. There isn't any Rotary list yet, but don't you think President Walt would be on the top of that list? Or immediate past President Gene? I mean, we gotta look at these. Yeah, well, the good thing is we've added other encounters. There's a penguin encounter now. There's the opportunity to go out on the deck with the Glacier Run team, and while they're feeding the seals and sea lions. And then there's also a rhino encounter where you can come up and pet a rhino and get up close and personal. The sloth continues to be really, really popular, but I think those other animals are just as cool. Anybody else that? Well, it's been a pleasure. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you out at the zoo.
So Dan, you know we do this. We've made a donation in your honor to a West Louisville Housing Initiative. For those of y'all that don't know about it, Rotary's raising $5 million for first-time homeownership in West Louisville's 9 named neighborhoods. And Luke, we just had our first 2 homeowners sign up, so we're starting to build that generational wealth, and it's really good. Thanks, Luke. Thanks, Denise. Thanks, everybody. And today, thank you for being here and helping us out.
And it reminds me, I had made my, we had actually budgeted towards this, my wife and I, because I think this is one of the most amazing things that any Rotary Club I've ever known does. So I appreciate it very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The important stuff, the door prize.
Yeah, you know what, if it's me, I'm going to keep myself.
All right.
You got your glasses.
We got my glasses. We got 2, so we got, that's all right. I need a second one, I got it. 242-1201. 1201. 1201. 1201 going once, twice, and see who picked up.
Here.
Oh, there you go, John. Thank you, John. All right, there we go. 242-1160. 1160. 1160 going once. Going twice. Oh, you got another one?
No, that's mine.
Oh.
I'm 1160. I just want to make sure that. One more? Okay. And this is for a sloth tour. It's amazing.
Right? 1217. 1217. Harry, way to go.
All right.
Harry, you got the door prize is a ticket to Craig's party. So we'll get that to you, Craig. Thank you, Dan. All right, we've got a couple you can. Yeah, all good. And now I think we're rounding down to Walt's words of wisdom. One question. Somebody sent me this, Dan. They said, "What's the difference between a northern zoo and a southern zoo?"
What is the difference, President Walt?
It said in southern zoos they include recipes. Oh, of course, that's really bad.
I will just say, real actually, when we redid the Louisiana Swamp exhibit, we actually included recipes next to like the red fish and the crawfish, mainly because we wanted people who were tourists coming down who would go to Emeralds or something, and wanted to know, okay, this is what they look like when they're alive. So we thought that was an important part.
All right. Walt's words of wisdom. People forget the good that zoos do. If it weren't for zoos, we would have so many species that would be extinct today. I think Dan talked about, Betty White said that. The greatest of a nation can be judged by the way its animals are treated. Gandhi. Zoo, an excellent place to study the habits of human beings. Zoo animals are ambassadors for their cousins in the wild, Jack Hanna, and Marlon Perkins, I think, said this, or it sounds like something he might have wanted to say. I didn't come this far to get eaten. All right, and with that, we are adjourned.